record. And here we go. So we're recording this call for educational purposes and promotional purposes, and more people will be popping in as we go along here. I'd like to welcome everyone to our introduction to the Empathy Circle Facilitator Training. This is an introduction on how to take part in the Empathy Circle Facilitator Training, and also a practice group for practicing how to take part in an empathy circle. So it is experiential. You'll get a chance to actually try an empathy circle. I'm Edwin Rutsch. I'm director of the Center for Building a Culture of Empathy. And I've been working for about 14 years. I created the center, and our goal is to foster more empathy in the world. So we're trying to raise the level of empathy overall, and I'm located here in the San Francisco Bay Area. And also maybe a little bit about our center. We're the largest, have the largest website for empathy related material. We have a Facebook community and LinkedIn community, social media community. We have hundreds of interviews on our website, empathycircle.com. And I usually point to the books behind me. They're all books on empathy. And I've interviewed most of the authors, and those authors are on, those videos are on our website. And we have a lot of different empathy building projects. We have an empathy tent, which we set up in public spaces and offer listening and conflict mediation. And we also do training around empathy, how to become more empathic. And that's what this is about here. Is we have a practice called the Empathy Circle, which I find is the most effective first step gateway practice for empathy circles, for empathy building. And then our facilitation training is how to facilitate those circles. And so we want to get started with just giving an overview of what we're going to be doing. Let me bring up our schedule. So this is, we're going to go for about 2 hours. I'm giving the welcome right now. We have participant introductions. If we have a smaller group, we hear from everyone. But since we're kind of a larger group, and that would take quite a bit of time, we'll just hear from some of the facilitators. And then we'll be sharing about the training, about 10-minute review of the training, what's involved. We'll have a little bit of questions and answers. And then we'll go into a short video of how to take part in an empathy circle. And then we'll actually have some practice. So you all get to actually experience and practice taking part. And then at the end, we'll have a full group debrief. And with that, yeah, I'll just call on some of the facilitators who are here just to share your name, your location, and why you're interested in the empathy circles. So I'll just go across the screen. Larry, when people have ECF after the name, that means that they're an empathy circle facilitator and have taken the training before. So Larry?
So I'm Larry in Florida, and I just love empathy circles. And I think it's what I need and the world needs. And I'll stop there because I could go on all day.
Thanks. Linda, would you like to share?
Yes. Yeah. Linda, I'm in Texas, Keller, Texas, right outside of Fort Worth. This empathy circle is great for your profession or your personal life. It really is a good way to learn to listen, truly listen.
Thanks. Bill?
Yeah, my name is Bill Filler. I'm a retired special education teacher. I also do on Thursdays at 10 a.m. I do empathy in school. So if you're interested, my contact information is in the chat. I've been working with Edwin for about 4 years, both, as you said, taking the tent out and also doing the training. Thanks.
Thanks. Kathy?
Yes, don't judge me when I tell you I'm from Houston, Texas, because we're trying to change things here. Right, Linda?
Right.
Yeah. So I national field coordinator with the Peace Alliance, and I was looking for something to bring to the Peace Alliance that would help serve the network. And so I've been actually following Edwin's work for about a year. And when I came to an empathy circle, so when I was following his work, I wasn't, I thought this is kind of weird what he's doing. But then when I came to an empathy circle, I was like, oh my God, this is great. So that's why I'm here.
Thanks, Kathy. Celine?
Yeah.
I'm Celine. I live in Oregon in the Western United States, and I have a background in mediation and in education. And I love this process because it helps us to be open with each other in a safe way and care for each other and really be able to listen even when somebody says something we disagree with. I'm happy to be here.
Great, thanks, Celine. Raid?
Sure, Red Hamzi. I'm from Hot, Arizona. I actually work in IT. And at work, I was given feedback that I'm not a great listener. So my interest in the Empathy Circle was started over there. And I think it's a good way to bring polar opposite people and opinions closer together in almost any setup.
Thanks. Shannon?
I'm Shannon Mcintyre. I love empathy circles as well, and reminded of it just kind of hearing people speak about what they're getting from it and what they've gotten from it. I do, up until this point and up until doing the facilitator training, I had been doing research on therapeutic empathy and how do you kind of generate empathy in therapists as they start to do that work as a foundational skill. And so I was really pleased to come across this work and really think the empathy circles are a wonderful kind of format to bring into the world at large. So thank you.
Thanks, everyone. So those are our facilitators. They've all taken the training before, and you can take the training multiple times, and Bill will be talking about that shortly. So I find this the first step gateway practice, as I mentioned, to learning empathy. And I just think it's one of the best, perhaps the best first step gateway practices. And so now Bill is going to be sharing how about the training. Go ahead, Bill, you ready to share?
Sure. Yeah. So you don't have to go to this site, but this is the site that we are showing here. And I will get there and try to, okay. So you can see that. Okay. This is the landing page for our Empathy Circle facilitation course. This is an open source training. And which means that you can kind of use this and then, adapt it to your own means or duplicate it and start your own little network. There's no cost to take part, but we do take donations. All of the work, all the facilitators you see here are volunteers. We're donating our time. This is an introduction cafe, so there's no prerequisite for this. You can drop in, but there is a 2 Empathy Circle prerequisite, just so you're familiar with the basics in order to take the facilitation training. So if you stay today, then that's one of those circles is out of the way. The time commitment is the facilitation trainings are 2.5 hours. They're from 10 a.m. Pacific time to about 12:30 Pacific time, PM, and over 5 sessions. So it's very important when we have a certain amount in the facilitation cohort. We have empathy buddy calls. So it's important that if you do make the commitment, you can fulfill the commitment. Because when people kind of drop in or drop out, then that changes the whole dynamics. So, sometimes things come up and you can't, and that's fine. But, please, take it as seriously as you can and try to make it. The training path. Well, this was designed to help people who are just kind of, saw it on LinkedIn, do something like that, to basically learn how to facilitate an empathy circle and be conversant with the values behind the circle. The path was a 5-week training path, and that might be fine for some people, but we also encourage you to take it, again, if you're not ready. So we've had certain people, taking a step, and they say, well, like one of the things we have is challenges. So people say, well, I'm not ready for a challenge. And then they come back and they take it again, and then they're ready for a challenge at some point. So this is flexible. And then the training, if you get very interested into it and you take the facilitation training, then you can come back and be a trainee. As a trainee, you learn to present various parts of the training. And then once you've done that and have been able to present, all parts of the training, then you come back as a trainer. And that's about it. And did I miss anything there, Edwin? Did you want to add anything?
Just
okay.
that you can take the training multiple times so that you become a trainee, you become a trainer, and then you start training other people. So we're really trying to spread the practice as widely as possible.
Okay, great. And so here is the information for the Cohort 12 series. That will be starting at the end of October. And so until then, there'll be empathy cafes like the one you're attending right now. The Cohort 13 is on Mondays. All of these are at 10 a.m. Pacific time and at the same Zoom room as you're in right now. And then that starts September 20th. Is that full yet? Or I think one or two slots open, Edwin?
Yeah, I think there's like one spot open.
One
There
slot.
is,
Okay.
yeah, they're going, it's pretty almost
Sure.
full.
Okay. And so this is just some of the people who've taken the training. This is what we do at the end. We'll ask you today to do jazz hands, and that's us doing jazz hands. We're a very attractive group. And this is an overview of the training. The first one gives you an experience of the circle and also the values behind in a culture of empathy. The second session, we talk about practicing the facilitation, and then also you'll practice giving the instructions on how to do an empathy circle. Session 3 is facilitation with challenges. So that's if you want them. And so you will do the how-to again, and then you'll go into facilitation. And if you wish to have certain challenges, mild, moderate, hot, I don't know, sriracha sauce, whatever you want. And then session 4 is you've done the how-to, so it's just facilitation with challenges. Again, you can have no challenges at this point, and that's to be flexible for your learning curve. And then the 5th session, we have a training debrief and feedback. Edwin has put together, as you said, the largest empathy dedicated site. You probably could be on it for the rest of your life, and you could never visit every page. So, but it would be time well spent. So here's some of the values, but then you go to this page, you can see various things, how to, et cetera, surveys, session emails, and then tips as you're going on. And then again, here's even more references over here about the empathy reference links. And there's much, much more that you can get into if you wish. Okay, Edwin, any other facilitators? Is there anything that I missed?
Great.
Okay, all right. And then, sorry, I don't have the script up here. So we're going to go into the fishbowl now.
Q&A. Just
Q&A.
open for
All
any
right.
Q&A.
All right, a little Q&A. Are there any questions? If you have a question, under reactions, there's a raise hand, like I have right over there. And we'll use that in the fishbowl in a little bit. So is there any, there we go. TJ.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for this session. So if I am to continue forward, and I need the Saturday cohort, I want to make sure I understand correctly. That begins on October 30th, or do I continue the very next week on the 18th of September?
That would start, the cohort starts the 30th. this counts if as an empathy circle, so that's one of your prerequisites. And then you can come to another before the 30th, you can come to another cafe or something, or you can do an empathy circle with your family or friends or someone else. And you know, we will, it's the honor system. We trust that you did it. So that's it. So it starts on the 30th is the short answer to your
And
question.
actually, in terms of, we have two cohorts at the moment. One is on Mondays, and that starts, actually, that starts on the 20th. So that's Monday, the 20th. And then and that's our cohort 13 series. And then we have cohort 12 that will start, actually, it's going to start November 20th. So if the, I think might have the wrong date.
Oh, you had the
start
wrong date. Sorry. So not October 30th. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's, I'm sorry, so the correct date is which date now? November
20th, that's a Saturday. So if you can make a Saturday. We can also form more cohorts, you know, in between. It depends on the demand, you know, so. And if also I might mention that if you have a group, like if you're part of an organization and you say, hey, we really want to have our organization learn this practice, you can bring together 15 or 20 people for a cohort. And then we can bring the facilitators to support that. So you can form a cohort as well with friends, colleagues, you know, work environment, the school or what have you.
Question, this is Christine. If we form like a cohort outside of the pre-selected dates, is there any fees or payments that is attached to it?
It's by donation. If it was like a corporation, we might charge for that, you know, since they could sort of afford that. But if it's just, did you have a community that you were thinking of?
Yeah, I do. I actually do. And I'd love to send send an email to just discuss, but I'll put together, you know, I'll send out requests in my community, see who might be available, and then reach out.
Yeah, that's great. So if it's just for, you know, nonprofits, you know, just individuals, there would be no fee. It's by donation, so you can donate if you want, but yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. So let's see.
Okay, with the how-to, I'll do show the how-to video.
You wanted to show the how-to video. Okay.
So this is a 6-minute video on how to take part in an empathy circle. So hopefully you've seen some of these other videos and instructions beforehand, but if you haven't, this is a good refresher here. So let's bring that up. Oops, hit the wrong. Stop share. I have to share that with audio. Optimize for video clip. Okay, here we go. I'm Edwin Rutch, founding director of the Center for Building a Culture of Empathy. I'd like to welcome you to this short presentation on how to take part in a basic empathy circle. So next, let's look at the step-by-step how to take part. An empathy circle starts with 2 to 7 participants. Here on the screen, we have 4 participants, which I find is an ideal number. There are 4 basic roles, and the roles rotate among the participants as the empathy circle unfolds. 1, the speaker, is the first person to speak. 2 is active listener who actively listens to the speaker. There's the silent listeners, they quietly observe and witness. And the facilitator who organizes, schedules, and hosts the circle. They also do the timekeeping, and they have some experience with the process and help keep participants in the process. However, everyone has the responsibility to hold the process and the practice. So to begin with, the facilitator will start the empathy circle. They welcome the participants. They lead introductions if the participants don't know each other. The facilitator invites participants to give short introductions, for example, their name, where they're from, and something personal about themselves. The facilitator then reviews the empathy circle process to remind everyone how it works. They announce the discussion topic if there is one. Even if there is a topic, you can always talk about what is alive for you. That is what is on your mind in the moment. And 5, they set the speaker time limits, perhaps 5 minutes, for example. And the facilitator then asks who would like to start to be the first speaker. So at that point, the participant volunteers to be the first speaker. As speaker, you select who will be your active listener, and you can select anyone that you want. You speak about the topic given or whatever is alive for you, and so you'll speak a bit until you have maybe expressed an idea or two, and then you want to pause to give the active listener a chance to recap what they understand that you are saying and feeling. If you say too much, the listener may have difficulty in reflecting it. As the active listener, you are listening to the speaker to get an understanding of what they are saying and what is important to them. You are giving them your full attention as a supportive companion on their inner journey and exploration. When the speaker pauses, you recap your understanding of what they said and how they feel by reflecting the essence of that in your own words. You can summarize, paraphrase, or even say the speaker's words back to them. Even though you may have a strong impulse to respond with your own ideas, judgments, analysis, advice, and sympathy, or even questions, resist the impulse to do so because these common responses block the speaker from moving along their internal journey. You'll be able to say whatever you want when it is your turn to be the speaker. If you don't reflect the understanding to the speaker's satisfaction, they can always say it again. Then as speaker, you check, do you feel understood to your satisfaction? If you do not feel understood, you can say it again, perhaps in different words. If you do feel understood, continue sharing. Again, after speaking a bit, pause to give your active listener a chance to recap their understanding of what you said. As the active listener, you again share your understanding of what the speaker said and meant. The cycle of speaking and reflecting continues until you, as the speaker, do not have anything else you'd like to say, or until you get a signal from the timekeeper. If you get a signal from the timekeeper, then finish up what you're saying in a sentence or two. After you get a final reflection, you can end your turn by saying something like, I feel fully heard, or something like that to indicate you are done with your speaking turn. At that point, the roles then rotate. The active listener becomes the speaker. The person they select becomes the new active listener. For everyone having equal time, it is good to select someone that hasn't spoken lately, but it is your choice. The others in the circle become the silent listeners. This process of taking turns in speaking and active listening continues for whatever time is allotted for the empathy circle. And this was just a very short introduction. The best way to learn the practice is taking part and doing it. There is more in-depth material on taking part in an empathy circle and facilitating one at empathycircle.com. Thank you for listening. Okay, so this is the 6-minute, just a small introduction to how to take part. I'm going to just mute some people here. And there's a 9-minute how-to video as well on the website, empathycircle.com, and a 25-minute one. You can see that. And then there's a 1-page PDF too. So those have the instructions. And you can also see Empathy Circle. And just by observing it, you can learn it as well. So what we do in these larger groups is we do a little fishbowl to begin with for about maybe 20 minutes. And Raid is going to be the facilitator. Would you, and if there's several people who would like to participate in this fishbowl, raise your hand, click the raise your hand like that. And you can be part of the fishbowl and you'll be the ones, yeah, there we go. Maybe one more person would be good, at least one more. Shannon, okay, great. So Raid, you want to facilitate a little empathy circle here, and I'll put it up in, where's our topic? Let me put the topic in. Where is that? If you have that handy,
While you do it, I'll kickstart us. So glad to see you here, guys. Again, this is a safe space, no judgment. As mentioned, we have an active speaker, an active listener, and then there's others who's going to be listening to the interaction between those two. Again, just speaker tips: pause often, right? Let the active speaker have the chance to reflect back. As an active speaker, when done talking, try to say if you were fully heard, and if not, wait for your turn for the next time so that you can, elaborate more on the thoughts that you have. As an active speaker, active listener, try your best to reflect back, what you have been hearing, and refrain from judgment or analyzing or even sympathizing or putting your own emotions into the reflection. When it's the listener's turn, what happens is they become the active speaker, and they will select who they want the active listener to be. For the first round, we're gonna get a volunteer who's gonna be the active speaker. I'll be the active listener, and then after that, after the 3 minutes are over, because we're gonna do 3 minutes turnarounds, I'll become the active speaker and I'll select an active listener, and the process keeps on going. As silent listeners, just be present and listen to the interaction. When it's your turn, you can talk about whatever comes to mind. As a facilitator, I'm just going to keep time. The time today is 3 minutes per each person, and I'm ensure that the process is met. When your time is up, I'm going to pull up this cupcake thank you cards just to highlight that your time is up to wrap up. With that being said, who likes to be the first active speaker?
I'm happy to go.
Go for it. Anytime you want.
I put the topic in, so it was, why are you interested in empathy circles, and the training, or whatever is alive for you?
Okay. Hi, my name is Dwayne Hearn. I live in Las Vegas, Nevada. My interest in empathy circles is actually a couple reasons. Number one, I'm involved as an advisor for community service at community service organization at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. And I would like to bring this information and training to our organization.
Perfect. Welcome. So you stated that your name is Dwayne, and you're interested for a couple of reasons, and you started with the first reason being that you're an advisor for a community service in a university in Nevada, and you want to bring the training and practice to the university.
Yes. Additionally, not only would I like to bring the concept of empathy and active listening to our chapter, I would also like to eventually bring it to our national organization and encourage us to use this practice in our national organization. We're the largest college-based fraternity in the country. We have over 500,000 alumni, and I would like to see this information spread throughout our organization.
So then you mentioned that you would like to bring the empathy active listening eventually to the national organization, and then you want to describe the organization by it being the largest college fraternity in the country, and you mentioned you have around 500,000 alumni.
Yes, and excuse me. And lastly, I think how I use language impacts how I experience life. And one of the things that I would like to bring and encourage in the empathy circle practices to be aware of the language, not only that I use to communicate, but that we're aware of the language we use within the empathy circles and how we can use language to create a more enjoyable life experience. And that, you know, the encourage to use healthy and what I consider positive words when we're communicating.
So you're going towards saying how you use language. You want to influence how you use language to impact the experience, one's experience in life, and encourage in the practice, you know, the utilization of certain language and certain verbiage within the empathy circle, so that one can reflect back, you know, the joys of life in a healthy and positive way, especially when communicating with one another. Your time is up. Do you feel fully heard?
Yes, I feel fully heard. Thank you.
Perfect. Shannon, would you like to be my active listener?
Happy to.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure.
So as I mentioned, at work, I was being notified that I cut people short, and I don't give them the chance to speak openly and freely for a long, long time. And I'll pause there.
So you were going back to what you had said previously, that at work, you were having trouble kind of active listening, and maybe because you were kind of cutting people off before they were finished talking.
Correct. Initially, when I was given the feedback, I felt defensive, and I was like, well, I know where they're heading towards, and I didn't want to take the conversation over there, you know, or I didn't want to take the audience where they're going because they're going off topic. And I'll pause there.
So I hear you saying that at first, upon getting this feedback, you started to get defensive because you kind of knew where it was going, and it wasn't going in the direction or the topic that you had been heading towards.
Correct. So so then I started doing the empathy circles, and I've learned that if you provide, even though if people are not heading in the right direction, you can correct that direction after you give them a chance to speak, right? By emphasizing what they have talked about, and then in the end, fix it by saying, okay, we're not going to head in that direction. Instead, we're going to head in the other direction.
So what you've learned from it is that when you actively listen and kind of, well, you didn't say this, but if you let people know that they felt heard, you can then kind of put what you'd like forward, and I'm guessing that tends to be received a little better, but I'm adding that on.
That's where my next thought was going to go. That's correct. So the idea was when you reflect back to the person what you heard, they feel heard, they feel like, yes, he was with me, right? And then when I recorrect, that recorrection or realignment of the topic is more observed well, right? And people will know that we don't want to go in one direction, but in another direction.
So you're finding that when you do this, you were kind of agreeing with, I added a little bit more than I should have, but you said, yeah, that's right, that people do feel heard, and that makes them more open to your viewpoint than when you share it.
That's correct. And the observation and the theme has been, since I started this practice is, wow, right? It has been like listening to people, accepting people, and in a way, being able to connect with people on an individual layer. So overall, the experience has become a more enjoyable experience, at least around me.
So you're saying this has been fruitful, not just for you in navigating different situations, but people have always also started to notice that things have changed and shifted for you.
That's correct. I feel fully heard. Thank you, Shannon. Can you please select an active listener?
Sure, happy to do so. Thank you. Do you feel fully heard?
I feel fully heard. Thank you.
Terry, would you like to be my active listener? I think you're. Oh.
Yes, I'd be happy to.
Awesome, thank you. So I'm just going to go back to the question, why am I interested in empathy circles? Well, I guess as I mentioned before, I'm interested in empathy, just more broadly empathy. And so that kind of guided me to this training kind of initially and in the very beginning.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is that you've been drawn to this concept of empathy and are here to basically learn more about how you can bring it forth.
Yeah, that's right. That I've been writing about it on my own, kind of theoretically. But these empathy circles provide a certain format or formula through which to kind of bring this way of being kind of into the world. Yeah, I guess I feel that it really is a way of being in the world.
Okay, so you're looking at this format basically as a way to provide some structure in which you can carry it forth.
Absolutely. And I just got finished with the facilitator training, and I think, my continued involvement is about continuing to kind of practice empathy myself and to kind of observe empathy in others it's really like an emotional experience and something that I don't think we see enough in daily life.
Okay, so what I hear is by practicing it yourself and observing it in others, you're using this as a way to be able to find a path forward to bring it to more people.
Exactly. Yes. I think oftentimes I think everyone's probably heard this phrase, like listening to respond, rather than really genuinely listening to hear somebody else and understand someone else. And this is sort of a way, I think it's a paradigm shift in a way, that it sounds obvious, and yet it's not practiced. So
all right, so it sounds like you really see an opportunity to lead a paradigm shift in how we listen to others.
Yeah, and I think I feel fully heard. Thank you so much, Terry.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Sounds good. Terry, would you please select an active listener?
Sure. Donnie, would you be my active listener?
I'm ready when you are.
Okay. My name's Terry. I'm calling in from the Bay Area in Northern California. And I am interested in empathy circles because I'm actually pretty frustrated with how human beings are treating and interacting with one another in today's climate, and whether it's related to stresses put forth by the experience that we have with the pandemic or political and social unrest. I'm just really frustrated by how people are treating one another.
So you're Terry from Northern California, and you are interested in the Empathy Circle because of your emotional upset about our socializing and our human interactions in today's time and society, and the grievances and the stress it puts on our society and our healthcare, and like during the pandemic, and our political stresses as well. And you want to make sure you can like talk about it or express your frustration.
That's correct. Like, for example, an encounter recently in a situation where someone was unmasked and being basically called a murderer. And I just feel like there's so many opportunities for us to learn better ways to connect and engage with one another in a more effective way. And that's what I'm looking forward to, learning about empathy circles and how I might be a part of learning to teach others better listening skills so that they can listen from that place of understanding one another instead of judging.
Okay, so there was an encounter where you witnessed and you were a silent listener to an unmasked person being called a murderer, and you just thought there was a better way to communicate and to facilitate a conversation between them using the training of an empathy circle and using the training of empathy that is being taught in the empathy circles.
That's correct. And I think that on this note, I think I feel heard. So thank you very much, Donnie.
Yes. Rayed, can you listen to, can you be my active listener?
I can sure do. Go for it anytime you want.
Okay, so empathy is an important tool for communication, and I want to be able to listen more actively and more focused. Okay.
So for you, listening and empathy is an important tool for communication, to be more present. Did I get that right?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that sounds okay to me. It can be used to facilitate hard topics like the mistreatment of Indigenous people and truth and reconciliation, as well as it can be used as a therapeutic means.
The idea is of the empathy circles is to facilitate hard topics, especially for Indigenous people and in setups that are therapeutic.
Right. I am a psychology major, and I feel it's important to let people be heard, to free associate and be validated.
So you're in a psychology major and you believe that people should be heard and given the opportunity to be heard.
Right. I look forward to using this training in social work or counseling. This training can be used to teach better communication and can be passed through our society and communities. Sorry.
So you're looking forward for the training and you think you can push to the communities and society these skill sets and the benefits of the circle itself to the community. Did I get that right?
Yes, I feel fully heard. Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay, so at this point, we want everyone to get a chance. We're going to go into our breakout rooms. So this was a little bit of a fishbowl, so you're able to observe, kind of learn through observation. And we have different rooms here. The first one, Bill will facilitate. The second one, Larry. The third one, Celine. The fourth one, Linda. And Raid, you'll be in that circle just to support Linda. And then we have Kathy and then Shannon, and I'll be with Shannon in Shannon's group to support her facilitation. So we have the topic, why are you interested in empathy circles and the empathy and the training? And the facilitator will be the first listener. So whoever would like to go in the circle, you'll you can go first and then speak to the facilitator, and they'll sort of model the listening. So, and we'll have about a little bit less than an hour in the circle, and we'll have 4-minute turns. And I'll give a heads up, about a 5-minute warning before we come back into the full group. Then we'll come into the full group and just have a little bit of a debrief. So here we go into the rooms. And I may be moving people around. Sometimes people drop out. I want to be sure there'll be at least 4 people per circle. And right now there's about 4 or 5. But if something happens, somebody drops out, I might be moving you. You'll suddenly disappear from the room and move into a different room. So just be prepared for that. So here we go. And you should see a little button to join the room. Okay, Shannon, you're up.
Sure. So welcome everyone. Great to see everyone here. We're going to do a small empathy circle now. And we'll start with actually introductions, a short round of introductions. Is that right, Edwin? And then kind of move into the format with 4-minute shares. And I'll kind of go over it in more detail, but does everyone want to take this opportunity to maybe start us off with introducing yourself, your name, maybe where you're from, and then we'll get started. Bharti?
Yeah, hi. So thank you, Shannon. I'm Bharti. I'm calling in from Bangalore, India, and I'm into learning and development since past 17 years. And recently I've been into group trainings, but recently I've also started a lot of work into career transitioning, because pandemic, as we heard others also in the main room, that pandemic has forced us to do a lot of shifts in our personal life and professional life and also. So now I'm keenly practicing empathy. And as Shannon, you mentioned that this empathy circle can provide a more structured way of approaching it. So I'm looking for that. So yeah, I'm done.
Thank you so much, Bharti. Appreciate you sharing that. Alice, Terry, would you like to share next? I saw you unmuted.
Sure. I'm Allison. I'm calling in from Northern California in the East Bay. And I work in behavioral health and in the universities and also at the community level. And so I'm very interested in the empathy circles and how they can be a form to create some structure for those larger audiences.
And I'm Terry, also calling in from the same location, Northern California. And I am a retired registered nurse and also now a practicing life coach. So looking forward to learning more about empathy circles and how to bring that into a coaching environment.
Awesome. Nice to meet you both, Allison and Terry. Thanks for sharing.
Thanks.
I can go next. I am Kenya. I'm from New York. Originally from the city and now live out in Orange County. There's an Orange County, New York as well. And I am an HR executive. And so over the course of my entire career, I've done a lot of like workplace mediations and the likes. And so like from a professional perspective, this would certainly help me to continue to help my employees as they try to get through whatever conflict they're faced with. I think an empathy circle or mediation or something along those lines is always better than discipline, right? And then also similar to what Bharti mentioned, and also Allison, I think, trying to make a bit of a career shift into a private practice, which is what that picture is on my on my screen when my camera's off. So that's why I'm here.
I think that was you.
We'll go Edwin Rutch from San Francisco Bay Area, also from the Bay Area. Yeah, that's me.
Thanks everyone for sharing so much. Wonderful to kind of hear common interest and professional kind of motivations that brought a lot of us here. And I'm also originally from the Bay Area. So I really wonderful to meet you, and I'm excited to get on with the circle. So I'll kind of briefly go through the instructions, and if there's any questions, and feel free to ask me, and then we'll get started.
Could I suggest we just go right into the process, since we've gone through the instructions several times, so a couple times. So if you would be the first listener, if someone would just like to speak to you, I think we can get right into it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'll be the active listener. I'm going to keep time. We'll keep with the 4 minutes. And so who would like to be the first speaker to go? RT. All right, so I am happy to start whenever you are.
Yeah, thank you. So like I mentioned earlier, I am in L&D space since about 17 years, and I've been doing group trainings and all. So when this pandemic hit, it actually was a jolt to the entire global, entire human race, right? And people were finding a lot of difficulties. The misery was getting up close. It was coming home. The misery had come home. People were falling sick. And to begin with, it was a confusion. There was a lot of confusion regarding what's happening, what is going to happen, and how to deal with it.
So thank you for pausing. So I'm going to, what I hear you kind of talking about here is kind of more of what brought you to these trainings, and that you've been doing trainings, professional trainings. But specifically right now, what you've been thinking about and what's alive for you is the pandemic, and just reflecting on how it's kind of jolted the whole human race, the whole globe. And I sense you've come across difficulties as a result. You mentioned misery, that it's really impacted you on a personal level, and created a lot of confusion and sickness near you.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you, Shannon. So then I also realized that people were losing jobs. The people who were on, daily wages, they were not getting enough, enough money to survive. Their livelihood was a daily wage. They were not able to survive. So we started as a group, we started a small NGO wherein we could help them in our own way, make them shift the skills which are more employable in current times.
So what I'm hearing is that you were specifically focused on the fact that people seem to be losing their employment, their wages, very serious issue. And in response, you started an NGO actually, and with the aim to help these people specifically.
Yes, thank you, Shannon. Yes, so then it also brought me to a realization. It was not just the blue collar worker or the daily wages. There were some other executives also going through a lot of difficulties because the tourism was affected, hospitality was affected, and so many other businesses were affected. So even executive level and managers were being affected, wherein my expertise actually was there. I had experience and expertise. So I just put up on a LinkedIn just a message that if anyone can, would want to counsel with me, I'm willing to coach them and understand their position and help them to do career transitioning.
So you're kind of further reflecting on the impact that the pandemic's had and the steps you've taken to address it, that you realize this is affecting everyone, regardless of their, where they're at, if they're working in hospitality or at an executive level. And you identify as someone that works at an executive level and have started to advertise some services to help people kind of that are struggling at all levels, by coaching them through this time.
Yes, and surprisingly, that single post got so much of response, and I was doing back-to-back coaching calls for CXOs and senior managers, etc. And I started as an honorary work, but once they shifted and they were, better placed, they started paying up, they started referring people who could pay. So it actually evolved as a parallel stream of, earning for me. So that was great. And I wanted to utilize it more.
Thank you, Bharti. I think that's our time, but I want to reflect back what you said last. And you're basically, what you're pointing out is that you got a pretty substantial response from posting this on LinkedIn, and you started out just doing it on an honorary basis, but it's evolved into kind of a successful business venture for you.
Yes, thank you.
Do you
I
feel
feel
heard?
fully heard, and that's how I have so much of belief in empathy that it creates a good karma.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bharti. So now I will speak. Every time someone actively listens, they then choose the speaker right after that. So I'll go ahead and do that now. Kenya, will you be my active listener?
Certainly.
Thank you. And I'll start my time. So it's a pleasure to listen to Bharti, and I'm just kind of thinking about what I heard and what's kind of emerged. I was also struck by Terry's share in the larger group, and so my mind is kind of whirling around the global pandemic right now. And yeah.
Thank you. I heard you say that you enjoyed listening to Bharti as well as Terry, and it's got you thinking a lot more about the global pandemic. Right?
Yes, exactly. It's always in the background, I think, and I think it motivates a lot. Speaking of why I want to be in empathy circles and be involved in this, I think the pandemic might have a whole lot to do with it, but to keep that at the forefront of your mind every day is not, I don't know if that's helpful. If as much as you can help not doing that, it can be helpful. But you can't escape it entirely either. So.
Yeah. So what I heard was the pandemic just helps if you want to use that word, but sort of doesn't give you a choice but to think about why you do this work, and it keeps your, I don't know, your purpose for doing this work sort of in the foreground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel very heard by that, Kenya. Thank you. And I do think that there is, I think when I use this term paradigm shift, it's because like in life right now, you get kind of like on social media or like just out and about or at work, there's a lot of us versus them dialogue, a lot of people getting pitted against each other. And I think, we take in all of that information. And even if we say, well, whatever, I'm going to not pay any attention to that, it has an impact.
Yeah, so I heard you say that there's so much information about people sort of being on opposite ends of a thing. You're getting it just generally, you're also getting it through social media. And so it just makes it even more important to bring empathy into the world.
Absolutely. Thank you. I feel very heard by that. And I think that's why it has I think that's why it tends to have a pretty big impact. I think these circles, at least I can speak for myself with that. And yeah, I think the time it's very important too. The context in which they're occurring in kind of has made it a more profound experience for me than maybe it would other times in my life.
I had my time of going too. That really did just distract me, honestly. But I really got distracted by the timer. Yeah.
I totally understand. I was just pointing to the context in which the empathy circles are occurring, and that's kind of made it maybe more profound an experience than it would at another point in time, at least for me.
Right. So for you, it sounds like there's no better time but the present to sort of emphasize this work.
Yeah, that's a great summary. So I feel very heard. Kenya, if you'd like to kind of choose an active listener for yourself, that'd be great.
Certainly.
And I can keep time. So if you notice me go like this, that's why.
Yeah, we won't use the distracting alarm anymore.
You have 4 minutes though, so don't worry about it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I will choose Terry since Allison's gone, it looks like. And Allison's back, but I still choose Terry.
I'm Allison and that's Terry. So which that's okay.
Different. Okay, Allison and Terry. So I still choose Allison.
Allison. Okay.
Yeah. So thinking about the pandemic, I guess from a different perspective, I have been able to find some good in it, if you will, just in, the way it sort of set me and my family up to spend more time with each other. And I find value in that.
Sounds like even though some people have experiences that were unfavorable, you feel that it's brought your family together and you've been able to spend time with them, and there's some joy in that.
Yes, yes, thank you. So I'm a single parent and I have 2 teenage boys. And having teenagers of any gender, I think is a challenge. Just because they're in their space and they're developing their own opinions and personalities. And but being at home with them has really given them a captive audience in me.
Knowing how important it is to have that captive audience in your teenagers, this pandemic gave you that space to do that. Whether it's boys or girls or non-binary, these are teenagers and you had them as a captive audience. That's pretty special.
Yes, thank you. Thought I turned that off. And they also have me as a captive audience. For a lot of their lives, they're 14 and 15, but for most of their lives, I traveled a lot for work and wasn't really home. And so me being home gives them an opportunity to sort of get like instant gratification when they're doing well in school or on a test or something like that. And that goes a long way with sort of building a connection between us.
Connection sounds so important. And you were able to, even though there's been times where you've had to work and maybe you weren't able to respond to their homework or different things that are going on in their lives, they certainly had you over this past couple of years. They had you there.
Yeah. And so we did go stir crazy, but in the end, I think it was certainly just all worth it. I think it was worth it. They may not see, how we've gotten closer, but I certainly do, even though they don't talk to me much, but I still feel a lot closer to them than before.
Sounds like you can feel this. It doesn't have to only rely on words this time. There's a feeling there and it's connection and it's real. Yeah.
Thank you. I feel very heard, Allison.
Great. Thank you so much, Kenya.
Yeah. I think I'm done, even if I don't know how much more time I have.
You have another minute or so if you wanted to use it.
It's actually, I will. So this time together with family has also brought me closer to my 85, almost 86-year-old dad, and has brought them closer to my boys. We spend a lot more time together. And so it's great to see their relationship budding when, before an 80-something-year-old and teenagers really didn't seem to have much in common.
Yeah, when an unexpected surprise, something that maybe they didn't have much in common, just on the surface, but now with this time together, you have multi-generations in your family that are sharing space and creating such purpose and meaning. What a gift this is.
Yeah, thank you. I really do feel heard.
Great.
So That's why I'm here.
Thank you so much, Kenya.
Thank you, Allison.
So my active listener, Edwin, could I?
Listening.
So I am drawn to this moment so much, and just recognizing the authenticity that's happened just in the small space here. And it hit me so, it just sparked such a magnitude of appreciation when Kenya admitted that she got distracted by the alarm, and that Shannon was able to hold space and be gracious and just restate. So I feel a lot of love. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm hearing a lot of appreciation for this space, maybe the care that's here and the connection.
Exactly, appreciation and care. And I think that's exactly why I'm here, is that I believe that when we show up in this way and we drop the facade and get out of our head and into our heart, there's magic that happens. And I'm experiencing that now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the reason you're here is you want to connect to your heart, and you're experiencing that in this space. And that's why you're here.
It's exactly why I'm here in this moment, but in the bigger vision, why I'm here is because I'd like to learn frameworks such as this so that I can share it with the rest of the world on a global scale, starting small in the Bay Area, but seeing how far and wide I can go with it. With groups like this, it seems possible.
Mm-hmm. So you're looking at the bigger picture, how to spread these type of ways of being to a larger, starting in your area and then to the world.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I think what I'm taking away is that it can be done in a short amount of time. And this has given me such great insight and hope, and just a real promise that it's possible.
So from your experience here, you're seeing that it can happen very quickly, and that gives you hope that it can happen.
It does. Edwin, I feel completely heard and seen, that I am interested in that global change-making effort, and that it's so simple. And thank you for hearing me. I feel very heard.
Yes, you feel fully heard. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So Arti, I speak to you.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll say you'd sent the message asking if you could ask a question, and I'll just sort of give a context that we try not to have side conversations, but it's when it's your turn, you can say anything you want. So you could ask a question when it becomes your turn. So I'll start with that, if you could reflect that.
Yeah, sure. So I think that's the primary basic principle of empathy, is to be fully there when someone's speaking and be an active listener. I think that's what active listening means. So yeah, so that was a good slight smack on me, and I heard that. So yeah, I hear you saying that we should be completely focused and appreciate the speaker first.
Yeah, and you can, when it's your turn to speak, you can say anything you want. You could ask a question or whatever. So I just want to, it's just this I'm just explaining the context. So I hope it doesn't come across as a smack, because it's more just to explain how the process works. Yeah.
No, I take it as a personal smack, so that it has a little more impact on me. Anyway, so what you were trying to say is that I'm also doing the listener's role, okay, as well as responding. Yeah, so Edwin, what you are saying is that we must make use of the space when it is given to us, and when the space comes to us, make full use of that, and serve all your purposes that are there on your mind.
Yeah, exactly. And then I was really just enjoyed hearing Kenya, that connection with her sons, because we've had 2 mothers and their sons take part in the training. So they, one was a 14-year-old son that came, and they just loved it, and they've done it like a couple of times. And then another, woman with their older son. And so I think this is a really good practice for families. So, to say, we're going to have a family empathy circle. So it's a great practice for that too.
Yeah, so what I hear you saying is that when Kenya was sharing regarding her son coming closer and how she could connect more to her family, it brought back to you another experience where in another similar space, there was a mother who got a 14-year-old son, and they both really connected well, and they appreciated the space also. There was one more mother who got an older son. So this gives you an idea to create a specific empathy circle for families. By the way, getting off the listener mode, it is the need of the hour. So this is what I hear you saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear a tinkling. I don't know if that's my time or I still have time.
There's still a minute left.
Okay, oh, great. Yeah, I actually do family empathy circles with my family and, conflict mediation in families. So in our family, we've gone like over 4 hours in an empathy circle. The family members get together and we use empathy, and it really helps for everyone feeling heard, and especially good for addressing family conflicts.
Yeah, so what I hear you saying is that you use these empathy circles within your family as well. And also you conduct some empathy circles for the family to do conflict resolution. And you've seen some wonderful results out of it.
Yes, I feel fully heard. Impactful. Yeah, thank you. I feel fully heard.
Thank you.
Great. Arti, do you want to choose an active listener?
So I've already done speaking. Should I do that again?
Yeah, that's quite all right.
Yeah, so I would go with Terry.
Hello.
Hi, Terry. Thank you so much for agreeing to this. So I was just going through LinkedIn, and I was trying to find something more relevant and useful to utilize my time, whatever couple of hours I can spend during the week. And I came across this Empathy Circle training.
Okay, so Bharti, I hear that you did some exploring on LinkedIn, and that's how you came upon this Empathy Circle training.
Yeah, and I just clicked on the link to check because the timing was Pacific time, and I'm logging in from India. So I just wanted to check the viability of the link. And as soon as I checked in on that link, I was actually connected into the session, and the session was just about to begin. So that's happenstance, right?
All right, well, it sounds like by happenstance, you were able to chime right in and didn't have to plan ahead and just jumped right in.
Yes, and it was amazing that I could really have up close, connect with all 5 of you here, 5 of you, yeah, Edwin included. So I think it was wonderful. Yeah, miracles do happen through empathy and being open to empathy.
Sounds like you can really find some meaning and purpose in your travels today on LinkedIn and finding this circle to connect with.
Yeah, I feel fully heard. Thank you, Allison. Thank you, Terry.
You're welcome.
Sorry.
Thank you, Bharti. Okay, so now it's my turn.
Yes, you can pick an active listener when you're ready.
Okay, Kenya, would you be my listener?
Sure.
Okay, so gosh, I'm going to talk about something that's alive for me in this moment in life, I'll just say. So earlier this year, I experienced something that I have coined now, a term that I call a pivotal earthquake in my life. And I had just experienced hip surgery a week before this pivotal earthquake. And basically was informed by my wife that she was leaving me. And so this happened all in a matter of moments, very unexpectedly.
Yeah, thank you. So I heard you say that you have coined a new phrase called a pivotal earthquake. And that's something that's very real for you now. And what that was learning that your wife was leaving you.
Correct. And it was a very traumatic experience. It wasn't something that I was anticipating or saw coming. And what I experienced in that time was not just the emotion of just, what it's like to learn that you're going through a divorce, separation and divorce, but also a revisiting of a lot of past trauma that was very difficult to experience in that moment.
I heard you say that you were blindsided by this. And with this pivotal earthquake, it brought up some past traumas or feelings of that came out of past traumas. Did I get that right?
Yes, that's correct. And you know, it was interesting because in that moment I was completely devastated and really did not see a clear path forward. And I was really faced to sit in my emotions in a very different way because of the fact that I had just had hip surgery. I was not mobile in the way that I would normally be able to mobilize and go do the things and cope in a way that I would traditionally cope in terms of number one, moving through the emotional experience, as well as shutting others out and to go forth with the difficult emotions on my own.
So I heard you say that it was difficult to see how to move forward for so many reasons, in particular that this has happened right around the same time as your hip surgery. And so what was, it sounds like doubly difficult for you was having to process the emotions of going through a divorce while also trying to physically heal.
Correct. Yes. And so I think the upside of the whole experience was really being forced to face things in a different way than I had previously. And I mentioned the revisiting of a lot of past trauma that I had experienced in my life. And it was, you know, ultimately, I have been able to find the gratitude in the experience and learning new ways of coping. And it basically forced me to let others in to help me in a time of need. Whereas a more comfortable place for me, especially as a nurse, is to help others. And so it forced me to kind of embrace the people closest to me and allowing them to be there to support me in my time of need and to get a little more comfortable with that.
Yeah. And so if there is an upside to all of this, it was that this situation made you take a moment and think about how you could face your challenges differently than you have in the past. And that's something that sounds like wasn't easy for you to do, particularly because you were a caregiver. And now it was time for you to receive the care, which might not have been something that was easy in the past, but you were willing to receive the care now.
That's correct. Kenny, you're really good, you know, reflector. The other thing
for that turn, that's time, but
okay.
Do you
Thank
feel
you very much, Kenya. I feel hurt. I feel very hurt.
Kenya, would you like to pick an active listener?
Sure. I will choose Barty. Oh boy, I'm gonna mess up the names. Terry? I'm
yes.
pointing over here. Terry, yes. Terry's share, if you will, also made me think a lot about how it was difficult for me to receive help and care in the past also. And I would say over, well, the last 15 or so years, I was kind of forced into learning how to receive care.
Yeah, so when you heard Terry, you felt that relatable to your own experience, where in the past you have been probably trying to process how to take care or how to receive care. Is that right?
Yeah, it was difficult. It was very difficult for me to receive care, to receive help in the past. And once I became a single parent, it became obvious also that I couldn't do everything on my own, and that I had to be more willing to be more vulnerable and also to begin to accept help from people.
Yeah, so being a single parent, it made you more vulnerable and also made you realize that you cannot do everything on your own. You need to seek help and you need to seek care from others, which was not very easy for you to do.
That's right. I'll blame my mother. I'll blame my mother for that. Yeah, just always pushing forward and getting things done no matter what the barrier or challenge was, just overcoming it to get what you need done. That was sort of how I was raised. So it was certainly a challenge to begin to accept help from people.
Yeah. So you came from a kind of upbringing where your mother was very feisty and she could deal with everything on her own. She could manage everything on her own. And you were raised with the notion that you were supposed to be like that and do like that, which is not very practical all the time, which the situation made you realize.
Yeah, I like the term feisty because she certainly was. Yeah, and so it's also teaching because it's ongoing. It's still, challenging at times to accept help from others. But what I'm learning, what I continue to learn in having to accept help from folks is that I have to be more trusting than I might have been in the past as well.
Yeah. So what I hear you saying is that your past experience has also led you to believe that probably you need to start from yourself, start from you. And that start has to be by trusting others that they will be able to help you or give you care as and when needed. So once you start doing that, it will make the process easier for you.
Yes, I feel very much heard, Marty.
Thank you. Thank you, Kenya.
I'm a doing time.
There's about 30 seconds.
So in the last 30 seconds, I'll just say that just using the term feisty really did remind me of my mom. She passed away a little over 2 years ago now. So that brought back a happy memory just hearing feisty, because that's certainly who she was.
Yeah. So just one term could make you bring back her whole memory and her whole picture that was feisty. And when you say that, you also feel very related to her, or rather aspirational to be like that at some point of time.
Wonderful.
I feel heard. I will choose Edwin, or did I do that right? Barty's supposed to choose. Let me tell you, this is really helping me with my memory because it does suck. My memory sucks. So this is a really good practice.
It just takes a few rounds, but you're doing great. So Barty, do you want to choose an active listener? So
yes, I'll choose Allison.
Hi.
Hi, Allison. So like we all have been doing of picking up threads from each other's listening practice. So I'll pick up my thread from Kenya's sharing about her mother. And I think mothers, the feisty word is something that we all relate to our mothers, most of us rather. And I also come from similar background where my mother is there and she's still feisty. She still goes on fighting with so many other personal and professional fronts and comes out winner every time.
It sounds like your mom, you have a lot of examples of how feisty your mom is. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, like I was telling Kenya also, it makes you a little aspirational to be like her, but it also makes me question. Again, this was what I was picking up from Kenya's listening, that it also makes me question that, is there a need to be so, on the go, to be on your own, or is it better and more practical to seek help that not only gives you space to connect with somebody else in a more healthy way when you seek help, but also resolves a lot of your problems in an easier manner?
So you're really thinking and weighing out the value of seeking help versus, kind of just doing it on your own. And the word feisty is how you're describing your mom doing it on her own. And it's really thought-provoking for you right now.
Yes. And having an experience of coaching and counseling others, normally we coach them to be more vulnerable to their own mistakes, vulnerable to their own flaws, and how they can fill up those gaps with with others' help from the society around them. So as a coach and counselor, you do preach that, you do counsel people that, but sometimes you yourself forget to do that. Like when Terry was mentioning, she was a caregiver and not easy to seek care. So something like that.
Yeah. So it sounds like you've created this, this role for yourself where you're sharing this wisdom with others. And then in a moment like now, just an unexpected Zoom call, you're really reflecting on, do I do that myself? Do I do that myself? Or do I just give that advice to others, and thinking about your practice?
Yeah, thank you, Alison. I like the emoting part of you. Thank you so much. I feel very heard. So am I done with my time, Shannon?
You have about a minute and a half if you'd like to use it.
I think I'll pass it.
All right. Thank you. My active listener, how about Shannon?
Happy to listen.
All right. What's alive for me right now is recognizing that the suffering in the world is hidden by so much of the impression management that we've created to respond with "I'm fine." And in rooms like this, we see that we're breaking down, we're pushing the "I'm fine" away, and we're getting real.
I hear you sort of reflecting that a lot of the suffering in the world might come from just kind of saying that people saying they're fine, when really we're seeing you just right now in real time that that's not the whole story.
Yeah, it's not the whole story. And, this month is National Suicide Month, and yesterday was the National Suicide Day. And to think that if we really were able to see each other and not say that we're fine, I wonder how many lives would be saved.
Mm-hmm. So you're remarking that this is National Suicide Month, and the National Suicide Day was just yesterday. And like, how many people could we help who are in that sort of dire situation? If only we were a little bit more, you didn't use this word, but maybe if we were a little bit open about our suffering, is the impression I got.
Yeah, I think open about the suffering, but also recognizing that suffering is part of. There was a Thich Nhat Hanh quote up a second ago, and it reminded me of his comments that I see you, and I'd like to learn more about your suffering. I'm here for you. Mm-hmm. And it reminded me of what we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm. So you're reflecting on this quote that you saw, this idea that everyone, I think what it gets at is like that everyone's suffering in a way. So it's almost like this normalization that we know suffering is a part of life, and more than just kind of being open to it. It's kind of knowing.
Yeah. Personally, I want more than anything in the world to stop that kind of suffering where you're suffering alone. And I feel so propelled to do this work that I don't think anything could possibly get in the way of this mission. And when I'm sitting in spaces like this, I'm reassured that I need to stay the course.
So I hear you saying that you're very inspired by trying to ensure that like people don't feel that they're isolated and that they're suffering alone. And you just sitting in a space like this reminds you of kind of how much you want to keep fighting on that course.
Yeah, I feel really, really heard. And I'm also, I don't only just feel heard by you, but I can see the body language of the others on this call. And I thank everybody for just listening, because I feel that. Mm. So thank you. I feel really understood and heard right now. Thanks.
So Allison, I hear you saying that like you feel very, very heard, and it's not just the words you're hearing back, but it's the body language of everyone, and you're expressing gratitude. So
yeah. Awesome.
Do you feel heard and finished at this point?
I do so much. Thank
Okay.
you.
Awesome. Edwin, would you be open to listening?
Listening.
Get my timer. So just kind of reflecting on kind of what's come up for everybody and having a lot of feelings myself that I don't have readily, I don't have concrete words for at this point in time. I'm just kind of sifting through what I've heard.
Yeah, so you're just sitting with what you've heard. You don't have any like concrete, thoughts about it. Just sort of sitting with what it is, maybe the energy of it. Or
Yeah, yes, I feel heard by that, and it. I guess because usually when we talk, it's like something's good or bad or right or wrong, and I just feel like there's a lot of really beautiful feelings and a lot of kind of very difficult feelings, and like they're all happening kind of at once, and yeah, not really wanting to put a label on it.
So generally when people speak, it's good or bad, the topic, and here it's a lot of real issues, feelings coming up, and you're hesitant to put some kind of a label on it.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like a lot of very authentic topics have emerged, and yeah, I feel very kind of I feel that there's a great openness to this specific circle, and so I guess I'm just kind of brewing in that and sitting in that.
So I'm hearing some appreciation for the openness that's in the circle, and just sitting with that openness.
Exactly. Yeah. And just this idea between of trusting other people to help us, but also being willing to help, and just the struggle of that, like getting locked into one or the other sometimes in life, and feeling maybe uncomfortable with either one, and just relating to that really. So.
I quite got that. There's an appreciation of sort of the energy of hearing everyone, and something about getting locked into. I don't know if I quite got that.
Yeah, that I think sometimes when things get tough, and I think I heard Kenya speaking a little bit to this, it can, and I'm not saying this is exactly what Kenya was saying. I don't want to kind of misinterpret, but I know for me, when things get tough, sometimes I'll go, okay, fine. I'm just going to be the helper. Like, I don't need anyone else's help. I'm just going to be, that'll simplify everything. I'll just do everything. And that way it just sort of cuts down on any ambiguity in a way, but meanwhile makes everything 1,000 times more difficult. So.
So when things get difficult, you just kind of shift into this helper mode. I'll just self-sacrifice. I'll do stuff for other people. But then that really just builds up for yourself if you do that.
Yes, I feel very heard. I think it can turn into a mess, or it has for me personally. But then I can go the other direction too, where it's like, I can't. I'm out of steam, and so. I don't know. I appreciate hearing people also struggle with that balance and try to hold that balance. I think it's very courageous to even try to hold that balance.
So you're appreciating hearing others here sort of hold that balance of contributing, but also receiving too. And you'll sometimes just get over, if you're just giving, you can end up just getting overwhelmed and sound like maybe burnout, or you didn't use that word, but something like that.
Yeah, I feel very heard. Thank you, Edwin. That's great.
Okay, thanks. Then I'll speak to Kenya. Yeah, for the empathy circle, that with typical empathy, it's been very generally in the culture, it's sort of been seen from an individualistic point, where you are going to listen and empathize to others. And I think what we're doing here is the mutuality kind of gets ignored, and the mutuality, I think, is super important.
Yeah, it sounds like when folks think about empathy, they're seeing it from an individualistic perspective. But here, I think we're demonstrating that we realize and accept that more than one person is involved here in the conversation.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people say, oh, I empathize. It's a little bit like Shannon was saying, I do all the empathy in the family, I do all the listening, and nobody listens to me, you know, and you just get really frustrated. So it's this mutuality, like, hey, I'll listen to you for a while, I'll empathize with you, but then it'll be in return and for the whole group. So I really think this is sort of the way forward for society too. There's not one, you know, group or one it's like self-sacrificing, but that everyone gets heard.
Yeah, and so for folks who are typically always the empathizer, the listener, you know, this practice gives us an opportunity to be on the receiving end and for there to be a duality, a back and forth, and not just one directional type of empathy. And that's something that would obviously do the world some good if we could just spread it throughout the world.
Yeah, and that's really the you know, at least my goal is to spread it, is that everyone in the world would learn how to take part in an empathy circle and be able to facilitate one. And it's a you know, it's a doable vision, I think, because it's just a simple process that, you know, it would just do a lot to you know, help kind of humanity, I think, for greater well-being. Just learning this first process, there's a lot of other steps after that, but just this would be I think really helpful.
And that's why this work is a passion of yours. And that's why you're so passionate about it. Because if we go one person at a time in small groups, and even though this may be the first step in the work to spread empathy throughout the world, this step in and of itself is impactful. Everybody gets a chance to offer empathy, but also to receive empathy. And it's just in this small little circle here, but have such a great impact across the world.
Yeah, but it can scale up. Can you imagine if Trump and Biden had an empathy circle instead of a debate, or if Oprah, you know, put it on her show, did an empathy circle? I mean, it could spread very quickly if we just have, you know, with the right media and stuff. It's not only, it can do the grassroots like we're doing here, but I do think that we could spread it quickly if we can have high profile people model this too, like politicians, Congress, you know, have the Democrats, Republicans do empathy circles with each other, because you kind of learn by doing, yeah, by observing as well.
So what I heard was, so with small groups or from a grassroots perspective, we may be making progress, but could we imagine, you know, what type of impact this would have on the world if people who are in the public eye, or people who are really popular, politicians and TV personalities and the likes, would begin to practice this and practice this publicly, like what an impact it would have.
Yeah, and with that, I feel fully heard. I'm going to hit the close all room button, so we'll have 1 minute and the others will be popping in. So thank you, Kenya.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
I clicked on the wrong thing.
Great.
That was perfect timing.
Edwin, can I ask my question now?
Yeah, go. You could have asked it also while you were, when it was your turn. You could ask it any time. Yeah, but go ahead.
So I just wanted to ask that you've been doing this empathy circles virtually only, or you've been doing the physical classroom empathy circles as well?
We do them in person too. As mentioned, we have an empathy tent. We set it up in public spaces and, you know, would offer listening there, and have done it in, you know, larger groups, you know, like meetings of 30, 40 people. We hold empathy circles in person, but just because of COVID, we haven't, you know, recently.
It's
and
amazing.
with family.
From all over can come in now.
Yeah, it's great that we can do this online. Okay, everyone. I think is everyone back now. So welcome back. Let's see, Celine is going to be leading. Where are you? There you are, Celine. You're going to be guiding us here.
Yes. Okay. So we're going to spend 30 seconds each to share about any learnings or insights that you had in your empathy circle just now. And I will call you by name, and you'll have 30 seconds to let us know how it was for you, starting with Bharti.
Hi, thank you, Celine. So this whole process made me a little better in terms of listening and comprehending. So I feel I'm slightly better person now after attending this one.
Thank you so much, Bharti. So I have Allison and Terry.
I just, I don't know, I really enjoyed seeing the process in action. I think that the facilitation and role modeling was great, and just really enjoyed witnessing and experiencing the process, and look forward to finding the ways to carry some of these concepts forward.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you, Celine. I actually have additional hope in recognizing how simple this can be to scale and to share. And so my hope has been increased quite a bit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Allison. And then Kenya, please.
Thank you, Celine. One thing that stuck with me from our group was thinking about how it's National Suicide Month, and thinking about how you never know what a person's going through. You never know what's going on inside. And a lot of times, you know, we're okay with the optics, how people show up physically, not understanding what they're dealing with internally. And then it made me wonder, like, well, why won't somebody want to tell you how they're really feeling? And it could be because they don't feel safe enough to do it. But it also could be because you may feel like the person you're talking to won't want to hear what you're saying, right? It'll be too difficult for them to hear you be as authentic as they think they want you to be. And so it made me see so much more value in this, because if we're all approaching this in a way that demonstrates that we understand we're meant to be empathetic to people, that gives them permission to be authentic and to say what it is they're really feeling and experiencing. So this was great.
Thank you very much, Kenya. And Mark, you have 30 seconds to tell us about your learnings or insights.
Overall, thanks for this opportunity and for our breakout group. I think there are a lot of things, but maybe the power of just simple, really listening and witnessing somebody, and the importance of keeping things simple and clear, both as the speaker and also reflecting back. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Dwayne, would you please share with us about your experience?
Thank you, Selena. Hi, I am always, again, I participated in this cafe several times, and I always enjoy how the amazing process of connecting with people by actively listening and sharing conversation together. And I always find that refreshing. I also want to thank Christine for pointing something out to me of a term that I used that, you know, is not considered a healthy term for some people. And I think it's really important to language, and how we communicate is very important. And I want to continue to learn and grow. And so again, thank you, Christine, for bringing that to my awareness. And final thing is, I want to encourage everyone to check out the conversation between Edwin and Shannon. I listened to that and I thought it was really amazing conversation. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dwayne. And Shauna, would you please give us half a minute worth of your learnings?
Sure. It has been quite an impacting first empathy circle for me. One of the things that I can recall is to be present, listen to understand, and be given the opportunity to be understood, because that creates a psychologically safe space for others to share and to leave impacting within themselves and others. So I think that for me was a great takeaway today.
Great. Thank you so much, Shauna. And Vera, would you please tell us about your insights?
Yeah, it was my first empathy circle as well. And I thought it was amazing. I just really loved this experience and I feel very connected. And, we went around and I loved hearing everyone speak and hearing it being reflected back. I mean, it was just such an awesome experience. I mean, I've never seen anything like it before. I've never, my first experience, my first time hearing about empathy circles. So this is really an incredible thing. And I'm just, I think this is amazing. I love it. You guys are all awesome.
Thank you so much, Vera. TJ, would you please share with us about your experience?
Yes. I enjoyed our circle. I was really great. The energy in that space was quite comfortable. It was very supportive. And so thank you to Kathy for being our great facilitator. And I want to say it's work. It is work to really remain present, to hear somebody. And it just made me think that maybe part of my problem is that I've been, dare I say, lazy. You kind of want to rush people to get to your point so I can say what I want. And so I really think that, I see you, Kara. I was honored to be able to do the work and prove to myself that I could do it. And I was really pleased to be in that space with these practitioners who were, I could learn from. So thank you.
Thank you, TJ. And Robin, would you please give us your 30 seconds about your experience?
I concur with TJ. We were in the same group. Kathy was awesome as a facilitator. And yes, it was a good experience. Anytime you can get human beings together to create brave spaces, that's always a good step in the right direction. And this is a wonderful format and framework for doing that. When I do diversity training, I talk about, I speak with folks and I say, this doesn't work unless we have transparency, vulnerability, and empathy. And so this is a wonderful tool to help accentuate that all three of those things, really, because a lot of honesty comes forward when people feel safe.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Robin. Julia, would you please share with us your half minute about your experience?
It was a wonderful experience in my group, and I think gratitude was a theme that was coming up a lot from the participants and myself, feeling that very strongly and reflecting that it's not often that there's a very intentional space with this much time to practice this way. I noticed with the first go around and then a second and a third, you get to go a little bit deeper and a little bit more as you're given permission to that space, which was really beautiful. And acknowledging too that there's risk in being vulnerable and that it can be scary or bring up a lot of different things. So that connected back to the gratitude of people really being present in the space and willing to try and acknowledging we're not going to be perfect, but this is helping us get closer to things that we value. So I just want to say thank you. It was a wonderful experience.
Thank you. And Kara, would you please share a little about your learnings?
I had a wonderful time. I think what I took away the most is that all creatures want connection. I think that's common sense. I just don't think it's common practice. And this was a really good practice to watch as people connect. A term that I am now using is, I think that empathy is the mycelium network of humanity. It is what connects us. And I saw that connection happening in our groups, and I see it now.
Thank you so much, Kara. Christine, would you please share with us?
I'm very appreciative of this space, really thankful for everyone's vulnerability and the privilege to just hold space for the emotions. I think with the work that I do too, same with Robin, I do diversity, equity, inclusion, and empathy is really a practice of decentering yourself and not putting yourself in the forefront, but holding space for the whole being of the other person. And this is a great tool that activates our the prefrontal cortex, so we're not in survival all the time, the fight flight. And right now, if you can like feel in your body that there's such lightness and joy, and even like that fuzzy cuddle rainbows and butterflies within you, and that's really the practice and what Kara has shared, like the connection, that the love, the space that we share together, the collectiveness and the expansiveness, the abundance. It's all of that I'm sensing and feeling right now, and I'm really truly grateful for the space. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christine. And Diana, thank you.
Yeah, so as our first time as well, as I shared with my group, I wasn't sure like what I was getting myself into, but I'm glad that I took the bold step and I put myself out there, because this is something that I'll definitely explore more, and I'll sort out my equipment and I have my camera on next time. But this has just been a moment of boldness for me. And as Kristen just described, I can feel all those sensations within me. And I want more of that. And I'd love to like have other people feel the same thing. So I had never heard of this before, but I'm glad that I have now, and I'm ready to learn more. Yeah.
Thank you, Diana. And Kathleen, would you be willing to share?
Sure. Yeah, I liked what Christine said about this puts you in a different space. It almost felt like I slowed down, almost like with meditation. And it made me, I was really grateful for it as well. It's really great to connect in a way that's so meaningful. I feel that right now, because of masks and COVID, people are even making less eye contact. So I felt like this was quite therapeutic to connect in this way. And the other thing to share is just that I noticed is when you have to really only have 3 minutes to share it, it brings you to a more vulnerable place of sharing what's important right away. And I think that's really useful. Thanks.
Thank you, Kathleen. So I'm going to go to my other screen and hopefully, okay, Diane, would you please share your 30 seconds worth of about your experience?
Yeah, I thought it was really fun and exciting. It was just the right amount of risk to get the energy up, and then everybody was so full of empathy and compassion and excitement about what we're doing that it got to be real exciting to hear everybody talking and sharing. So it was great.
Thank you very much. Yvonne, would you please share about your experience?
All right. In my experience, this has been an honor. Just being with people that have a common thought, common feelings, common goals, to know that my thoughts are not just my thoughts, and those things that are important to me are also important to others is a big thing. The word that keeps coming back to me is humility. And whatever I do, there's always room for critiquing and learning. And I enjoy that interaction with others. So this has been an honor. And my group, it's to do these things, it takes sincerity, being genuine in what we do, and really caring about how others feel. And I think this is a time where change needs to take place and really caring about others. So this has really been an honor, and I thank everybody. Thanks for allowing me to be here.
Thank you very much, Yvonne. Karina, are you still here by screen?
I am here.
Great, thank you. Would you be willing to share, please?
Yes, ma'am. I am extremely thankful to the group of ladies that I met with today. I had a great opportunity to connect, and the first time in a long time, I feel like I am not crazy. I'm not the only one who craves this level of connection. I feel that today was the best way to celebrate 9/11. There are many things going around our country a day like today, but for me, building this understanding was the best way to celebrate.
Thank you so much, Karina. Elva, would you be willing to share about your experience?
Yeah, thank you. I enjoy it so much. And what I learned is that when somebody else is talking, to be focused on the conversation, it is not easy, but we practice a lot on the group. So I learned just to be focused on the talking, and that's very good. So thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Elva. Danielle, would you share briefly about your insights?
Yeah, of course. I enjoyed it very much. I woke up this morning, wasn't feeling very well, was going through LinkedIn and happened to find you guys. So it was just meant to be. And for me, it's just, a reminder that one act of listening is not only healing for the person who's being listened to, but to the person who's talking. A lot of the times we get caught in saying, "Hi, how are you?" as we keep walking. And to slow down and pay attention to what we're saying as well is taking value in our own selves and value in the person who's listening. So I think it's a pretty incredible feeling. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen a whole bunch, being heard completely without that person thinking of what they're going to say next. So I think this is incredible.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Danielle. Edwin, I want to check with you about time. Do you want me to continue with the facilitators?
We probably should keep on time because we have the facilitators to share, but we'll have a debrief. So just to keep us on time for the 2 hours, we're almost there. I'm going to put in a link to fill out an Empathy Circle orientation, the feedback form. If you could click on that, actually take a second here if you're able to, just open that up, click on that link. And that'll open up a feedback form where you can add your name and email address and let us know if you're interested in taking the training. And we can also add you to our email list to keep you, up to date on what's happening next. And then also you can go to empathycircle.com. You can always go to that site. This is a gateway to the training. There'll be a link to the training there that you can go and see the different cohorts we have. We have, as I mentioned, the one cohort starts on the 20th. I think we have one space left for that. And then there'll be also November, can't remember what it was, November 20th or something like that will be the next cohort. We may add more cohorts. And then next Monday, we will have another open intro cafe. So I hope you can come and join us for doing more of this. It'll be a repeat of what we did today. And then next Saturday, and then for the next 10, I think 9 Saturdays, we'll be having these intro cafes. So you're welcome to come and take part there and get some more experience, and bring your friends and share it at the event on LinkedIn or any other spaces. There's also, Bill, do you want to say something about your education training? I mean, cohort, circle?
Sure. I'm a retired special education teacher. And so bringing this practice to schools, I think, would be transformational. Yeah, so I have a Thursday at 10 a.m., same time as this, at my email. I'll put this in the chat if you're interested. Obviously, schools don't have 2 hours, so I've adapted it, broken it down, and then built it up, and I won't get into details about that. But you can adapt it for different, ages and disabilities and things like that. And I'll put that into the chat. Thank you all.
Yes, so thank you very much for taking part. I do want to keep us on time. If your video is off, if you could turn it off, we want to get a shared portrait of everyone, and hope to see you next time. And if you have any questions, just send us an email, so we'll end with that with jazz hands, or just get a portrait of everyone. Yay, Yvonne. So yeah, so we'll see you next time. And if you're a facilitator, please stay back. We'll have a debrief about this. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Great seeing you.
Bye.